Okay, it looks like we got a good group to start with today, and some more will trickle in, but I know it is lunchtime for a lot of you. And I actually want to get us started and make sure those fingers are working on the keyboard. I am calling in from Chicago, sunny, beautiful Chicago today, right on the river. I would love for you to all put in the chat where you guys are dialing in from. Like to hear what parts of the country we're getting people to join us from today. So feel free to put that in the chat and I'll get us started. Welcome to someone from San Diego, very jealous, but welcome to our latest installment of our quick hit series, backed by popular demand. As a reminder, these are intended to be quick hits for you, digestible webinars to basically highlight a current hiring trend that Hirology sees in our data, etc. I'm Kristen Shantz, the VP of Growth Marketing here at Hirology. I have spent 5 wonderful years digging into this information and data. So really excited to share some insight with you all today. For this series, we're focusing each one of these takeaways on our recent survey of job applicants. We talked to over 6,000 people who've applied to jobs in 2022 already. The goal is really to get in the minds of the applicant and then offer advice on what you, as business leaders, owners, HR leaders, can do to understand these applicants, meet their expectations, and really drive velocity in your business. So with that, I'll get us going. Let's dig in today. Excuse me, technical difficulties, there we go. So our featured stat this week is all about the application process. When we asked survey respondents if they've ever given up on an application because it took too long to complete, 59% said yes. So to put this another way, you could more than double the amount of applicants to your open roles if you find ways to streamline and shorten the application process. And of course, this is particularly important now as we continue to navigate a situation where there are more job openings than there are applicants. The July jobs report came out just last Friday, and we're finding that employers are still hiring like crazy, despite what the news is saying, but there aren't enough folks out there looking for work. There are 2 jobs for every individual. So if you're making it too tough for people to even just complete your applications, you're really going to have a hard time filling your roles because these people have so many other options to work. They even are, pursuing other opportunities with businesses that make it easier for them. Said differently, or said it in a more emotional way, you cannot afford in this job market to lose out on 60% of today's applicant pools just because the application process takes too long. So exactly how long is too long? You're going to be asking. You're like, great, Kristen, where do I start? For 29%, anything that is more than 15 minutes is too long. For over half, or 56%, anything more than 30 minutes is too long. We'll dig into this deeper through the rest of the webinar, but if you're asking people to fill out dozens of fields, upload cover letters, write essays, or do anything that requires more than 15 to 30 minutes of their time, you'll be cutting yourself out of your fair share of applicants in your market. What I like to recommend is really secret shopping and taking a look at these things to understand where you fall in that 15, 30 minute, etc. window. So it's easy to say shorten your applications, but how? Many of you are likely relied on the same applications for years, or you've taken some time to look at this pre-COVID, post-COVID, etc. So how do you go about shortening them while still getting the information you need? Let's dig in. First and foremost, we want to build an application that only includes the bare minimum fields required for job seekers to complete. I know this seems counterintuitive because you want to know you're getting the right applicants, and many of the questions you ask help you get to the right folks. But that's information you can get later through screening surveys and first-round phone inviters and recruiters. Let's not put all of that up front. Let's find ways to continue to qualify these applicants and make them candidates and ultimately hires throughout your hiring process. So let's start with a number of fields to aim for. According to our data of our over 7,000 customers that use our application process, anyone with more than 5 fields starts to see a drop-off in completion rate. And just for added context here, completion rate is defined as the percentage of people who viewed an application and then who went to complete it. The rate drops significantly when you require more than 5 fields, and then it drops in half again if you were to require more than 10. And so think about it. If I'm asking for more than name, years of experience, email address, phone number, and then opportunity to upload a resume or include some previous work history, if I make that so cumbersome, I'm going to start to see the people who took the time, found my job, the money that I've spent to get them to find my job, they're not even going to complete the application. And in this job market where there's 2 jobs to every 1 person, and in certain fields like healthcare, retail, automotive, hospitality, where you're really feeling the shortage of talent, we just can't afford to do that. So what fields should you include in that 5 to 6 max? Of course, their name and email and phone number, exactly as I just said, are, and that right there takes up 3. Anything else essentially depends on your roles. If you're hiring for higher level positions, maybe managers or directors, you may want to, people with a certain range of experience. So maybe you'll be asking how long they've worked in the field, or you might ask them to upload a resume. But as you'll see in a later section here, make this optional in case they're applying on their phone. Really, the tables have turned when it comes to job applications. You don't necessarily have the upper hand anymore. In the past, you could disqualify people for not including a resume or not completing all the fields, but now the job seeker has the upper hand, so you want to cater to them. Or as another example of something you may want to include, say you're hiring RNs or CNAs, certified nursing assistants, people who need specific certifications or an auto tech, training, licensing to apply. Those might be good questions to ask and make it really easy for folks to answer the questions. This doesn't, don't ask them to fill out open-ended boxes with all their certifications or upload documents. This can be a barrier, which we'll get to in the next section. Instead, just ask a yes or no or multiple choice question. Do you have these 3 certifications? Are you certified in these 3 areas? Yes or no? Do you have a master tech certification from Lexis? Put that in there. This way, it's super easy for them to complete it. And then you can always gather proof of certification on all of that later on throughout the hiring process. Next, it's critical that you remove any barriers that prevent job seekers from completing your applications. Hey, we made it really short and we made it less fields and we got them over that hurdle. Think about the last time you tried to fill out a form online, even if it wasn't for your job, whether that be a newsletter or something to that effect. Maybe you were buying something online and ordering food. I always find that if I have to do things like re-enter a password or even physically re-enter my credit card information, as opposed to using Apple Pay or other systems, it often discourages me from completing the purchase or making that take longer. Applying to jobs is no different. You have to make it easy on people for them to, or they'll move on to the next opportunity because they have so many. So let's take a look at what these barriers of applications are. Required resumes or cover letters can deter people who want to just quickly apply on the go. You can always include this as an option, but note that it is optional and won't deter their chances of getting the job. Anything on a resume can be gathered in a quick screening survey or call. And cover letters are generally dead unless you're hiring a writer or someone who needs to have excellent writing skills. Like I said, the job seekers have the upper hand. They don't have to sell themselves to you. You have to sell your company to them. Those pre-screening surveys, we use them in Hireology, are a great way to take a volume of applicants and turn it into a quality candidate pool that then doesn't waste your time in the interview process. Asking applicants to create accounts with passwords can lead to a significant drop-off, and I'm still flabbergasted by how often we see that today. This is just frustrating and annoying to have to do. It requires so many additional steps. You have to go into your email, verify, and all of that. It's time consuming and leads to massive drop-offs in application. If I am committed to applying to your job today, but can't remember my password or don't have the time to create a login, I will move on and probably not come back to you, and you can't afford that. Another common issue is just buggy sites with slow load times. We've all gotten used to high-speed internet from anywhere at any time, that if anything takes more than a few seconds to load, we're on to the next thing. Nothing more frustrated than a Zoom that's not working, a website that's not loading, an email that's taking too long to open. Job seekers, again, here are no different than what we experience day to day. Why would they want to wait around for a site that's taking too long when they have so many other options? Of course, this isn't easy to fix on your own and something you'll have to fix by partnering with IT or upgrading your career site or your hiring software. Another issue is too many clicks. If you have to click to go to another page for every step of the process and there isn't a progress bar showing how much it is left, it can deter people from continuing. They might feel like it's endless that they have to keep clicking every other question. Try to keep it all on one page, including the submit button. That way people know what they have to do to complete it and it's not a mystery. And lastly, this one should be obvious, but don't ask people to put in references with their application just yet. This is something people have to go out of their way to get. So if they don't have list references ready to go when they're applying, they're going to give up and move on. Hey, I don't know if I can ask this guy to be my reference just yet. Like, why would I tee him up and give his name if I've not made it through the interview process? Find ways to speed this up at the front end. Let's take a look at some examples to show this all in practice. Put yourselves in the shoes of job seekers. Would you rather complete this one, which has dozens of fields just on the first page, and then just the page one, you have to keep clicking to complete it? Even worse, when I was testing this, I had to create an account with a password in order to keep proceeding through the application. And even though all of these fields aren't technically required, it's just daunting to see all the information they're asking for. Plus, again, you have to create an account, which is just a huge barrier for the folks trying to apply to roles on the go or quickly when they have a minute of downtime in their lives. Or would you rather complete this one? It is just so much more inviting with a very small number of fields to complete. The whole application is on one page to know exactly what you're getting into, and you don't have to create a password to complete this. Additionally, the copy is short and sweet at the top, but if an applicant wanted to read more, they could click to expand the job description. Again, I know that some of you may be thinking, well, I need more information from applicants to ensure they're a good fit, and that's definitely true. But the info you can gather later on through pre-screen surveys that are multiple choice so that folks can easily complete them once they submit their application, or you can have recruiters do screening interviews to weed out the folks who aren't a good fit, experience and skills wise. There's things you can build in your hiring process that support not needing to put every bit of information here. And finally, I've hinted at this a bit, but you have to make your applications really easy to complete on a mobile device. If you were at our earlier quick hit on mobile, you remember that the first time since we've done this applicant research study annually, the majority of job searchers are actually now happening on a smartphone. So one reason why folks might be giving up on your application is because they're trying to do it all on their phones and it's hard, so they give up. Maybe they're on their commute on the way home after a bad day at their current job, or they're even at work at a quick break and want to apply. You're missing out on these folks if you're making it too hard for them to throw their hat in the ring from the smartphones. This is even more important if you're in a field where your target applicants are not at a desk all day long. Think nurses, technicians, housekeepers, front desk agents, etc. And when someone gives up on the chances of them finding the application on a desktop, later when they have time and completing the application is so small. You have to be able to capture them at the moment that they're interested. And I will give you all an assignment when you leave, when this quick hit ends, is pull up an open job that your company has today on your cell phone. It can be from a career site, it can be from a job board, it can be just the link to the job application itself. See what it looks like on your mobile phone, give it a try and see, hey, is this clunky? How does this feel? Am I doing all the right things? Some mobile application do's and don'ts. Do use responsive design techniques. This means your UX team or the software you use to create applications designs your applications that it renders differently on a phone. That way the fields will appear larger and easier to type in and navigate in a small screen. And any buttons or calls to action are large enough to click. Non-responsively designed applications typically have really small fields and difficult to click links and require a lot of zooming in, which can be really frustrating and lead to lost applicants. And you may be saying, like, Kristen, I don't know responsive design. What this essentially means is you are building your career site and your job applications with mobile in mind. How is this going to look on a phone? And how do I make sure that everything that goes into the back end of that is set up properly? Don't include drop-down menus. These are way too hard to scroll through and navigate on a phone. Think about how many times you've been frustrated trying to keep your birth date, for example, in a drop-down menu. I've got fat fingers, so that really makes it really hard. Make it easy for your applicants. Do keep any copy short and sweet to reduce scrolling. The longer they have to scroll to get to the application, the greater the chances that they'll give up. And don't require a resume. I can't talk about this enough. I mentioned this so much earlier, but it's such a barrier to mobile. How many of you keep any kind of resume or any kind of document like that on your phone? That's not happening. And so don't make someone spend time filling out all the fields that matches to their resume to get to the end to see that this is required. They're going to take all this time to do that and then not have the document to upload. That is a fast way to take an applicant from your application pool and put them in someone else's job pool. Of course, give the option to submit one, but should be optional, and make any required information like contact information, years of experience, etc., in a separate field. Don't set yourself back by requiring things that people just don't have access to provide at the time. So let's take a look at some good versus bad examples for mobile. You'll see the mobile-friendly version on the left is responsively designed for mobile. The fields are large, easy to navigate and complete. It's short. You can see the entire application without having to scroll. There aren't extensive drop-down menus that are difficult to navigate, and most of the fields aren't actually required. In the second example, it's clear that this is just a portion of the application. So you have to keep scrolling to complete. The fields are small and difficult to navigate on a small screen. The drop-down menu is annoying and just not user-friendly. On top of that, all those fields are required, including small details like start and end dates at previous jobs, way too clunky and time-consuming on any device, but especially on a phone. So that's what I have for today. And here's an overview again of what we covered. We're still facing an unprecedented labor supply and demand imbalance, 2 jobs to every 1 person. And in certain industries and roles that require skilled labor or a different kind of approach, it's even worse, which means that folks have so many options for work that they don't want to endure lengthy and clunky job application processes. A really easy way to increase your applicant volume and get more people into your open positions is to simplify your applications. How? Cut unnecessary fields. Remove any and all barriers to completing the application. Think required resumes, account creation, etc., and make it as easy as possible for that to all happen on their phones. And with that, I'm done for today. That was, quick 16-minute hit here. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you streamline those applications, or you have questions for me about best practices, don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@hirology.com, or you can email me myself at kshantz@hirology.com. That said, we have some time if anyone has any questions they'd like to submit today live, and I can do my best to answer them there as well. So excited to have people from San Diego, Downers Grove, just a stone's throw from the Hirology office, New York, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota today. Doesn't look like we have any questions coming through the chat. So I'm hoping I gave you all some great tidbits. We'll be sharing this out, and you can share it with others at your business. And with that, have a great Wednesday and a great August and a great rest of your summer. Thanks, everybody.